I watched them all the time. I think I watched Indiana State and Iowa. Caitlin Clark played about the same last year, so I was watching a lot of basketball.
Caitlin Clark finally stood up for herself. No more staying quiet.
Like, can we get Caitlin Clark a little protection out?
Anybody that does something flagrant to this young lady for what she's brought to the game should be suspended and fined.
What happens when one of the greatest basketball icons of all time witnesses the WNBA's most promising young player engage in dubious on-court behavior? After Larry Bird allegedly expressed strong opinions over Alyssa Thomas's treatment of Caitlin Clark, it is precisely what has the basketball community in a frenzy. Before we get started, though, consider this. Can you think of another professional athlete who has been subjected to the same kind of constant scrutiny and physical abuse that Caitlin Clark has encountered since joining the professional ranks? This viewpoint argues that Larry Bird's life completely changed after witnessing that Phoenix Mercury game. He was compelled by what he saw to adopt an entirely new perspective on the modern WNBA. And it's precisely because of this change in perspective that Alyssa Thomas has gained so much attention. Bird is more sympathetic to Clark's predicament than most. He was the league's most dominant player in the 1980s, facing extremely talented opponents who frequently attempted to neutralize him with physical play when they were unable to match his basketball acumen. However, Bird stressed that hard-nosed competitiveness and something quite distinct can be distinguished. The present controversy involving Alyssa Thomas is so compelling because of this distinction. Bird knows the difference between intense, physical competition and what he thinks he saw with Clark because he has personally experienced the intensity of championship-level basketball. According to reports, he called the incident one of the most cowardly displays he has seen on a basketball court in decades. You heard properly. Observe that.
Boom, look at her put her knee into Caitlin Clark's groin. Right there on that play, right? I mean, this is gross.
That's right. After witnessing the video of Alyssa Thomas pushing Caitlin Clark from behind while she was still healing from being poked in the eye, Larry Bird apparently reacted right away. Bird is one of the few who truly comprehends the intensity of competition. He faced some of the hardest defenders in basketball, such as Bill Laimbeer and Dennis Rodman, during his Hall of Fame career. Bird is aware of the precise boundary between improper behavior and fierce competition as a result of those encounters. What transpired, in his opinion, went beyond that boundary. However, Bird found that the timing was more noteworthy than the thrust itself. This account claims that his harshest condemnation of Alyssa Thomas was based on that particular detail. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and like the video before we continue. Let's get back to the story. According to reports, Bird said what many fans had been thinking for days, but few individuals of his caliber had done so in public. He believes that taking advantage of an opponent that is weak and unable to defend themselves is far different from playing aggressive, championship-caliber defense. He frequently cites his playing career as one of the most difficult times in NBA history. Although participants faced each other directly, physical combat was anticipated. If there was a confrontation, it took place in person rather than via hitting an unprepared person. Bird said that's why it was so hard to accept the incident. He wasn't done criticizing. Alyssa Thomas's response following the issue apparently irritated Bird as well. She said, "Damned if I do, damned if I don't," implying that the criticism from fans and the media was unjust, rather than admitting that she could have gone too far or expressing regret. Bird apparently became even more disappointed as a result of such remarks. He believes that the best basketball players in history gain respect by owning up to their mistakes, particularly when doing so could have endangered the safety of another player. According to reports, Bird thought that the mindset of competitors who are aware that they are falling short versus the top is reflected in their refusal to take responsibility and instead presenting themselves as the victim.
Knee in the groin, fist on the throat. They hate that white girl. Look at this. She falls down. Here comes Alyssa Thomas, knee in the groin. And here she comes, fist on the throat. Knee in the groin, fist on the throat. Alyssa Thomas doing what Alyssa Thomas does, showing what a talentless hack
she is. Bird thought that some opponents looked for other methods to get an advantage when they couldn't match Clark's basketball skills. When viewed in that light, his criticism implied that a player's reliance on dubious strategies frequently indicates that they are unable to continuously compete on the basis of skill alone. This is the point at which Bird's evaluation becomes particularly persuasive since it emphasizes what he considers to be Caitlin Clark's exceptional talent. According to reports, he sees many of the same traits that characterized his own illustrious career in Clark. A superb basketball intellect, outstanding ability to make shots under duress, and, most importantly, the special capacity to improve everyone around her. However, Bird also notices something much more troubling. Clark frequently needs to keep an eye out for needless physical play and behaviors that go beyond typical competition, rather than being able to fully concentrate on realizing her enormous potential. That, in Bird's opinion, is a sign of a bigger issue. Some opponents chose to confront Clark in ways unrelated to basketball skill rather than striving to match her level via preparation, dedication, and hard effort. According to reports, he identified a trend wherein Clark appears to absorb the most physical contact when she is least equipped to defend herself. That strategy, according to Bird, is among the lowest levels of competition the sport can generate. These comments soon became a hot issue of discussion in the basketball community. Bird also made analogies between the physical abuse he endured during his own Hall of Fame career and Clark's situation. However, he highlighted a significant distinction that, in his view, made Clark's circumstances much more noteworthy. At just 22 years old, Clark is already dealing with difficulties and criticism that many professional athletes never encounter during their whole careers. She is not a phenomena.
Tiger was. LeBron was. Taylor Swift is. Caitlin Clark.
In addition to the tremendous pressure she faces on the court, Clark also has to live up to the expectations that come with being the public face of women's basketball. In the meantime, a portion of Bird's alleged remarks has quickly gone viral on social media. According to this story, Bird contended that the WNBA runs the risk of conveying the incorrect message if it permits star players to be targeted on a regular basis without serious repercussions. According to him, athletes who are unable to keep up with their skill and preparation may start to think that dubious strategies are a legitimate means of maintaining their prominence. According to reports, he cautioned that this sets a risky precedent that would deter the athletes who are contributing to the league's advancement. Concerns about the example being set for younger fans were also raised by Bird. He feels that rather than teaching kids that exploiting weak opponents is a necessary aspect of winning, the game should teach them to respect skill, discipline, hard work, and sportsmanship. However, his remarks on Clark's future were perhaps the most notable. According to reports, Bird foresaw that every hard foul, every attempt to intimidate her, and every contentious incident would eventually make Clark even more motivated to prove herself only via her basketball skills. He likened her experience to the physical challenges he encountered early in his NBA career, when seasoned opponents continuously tested him to see if he could withstand the intensity of the league. However, Bird highlighted what he considers to be a significant distinction. In addition to these difficulties, Clark is dealing with unheard-of media attention and the demands of being one of the most well-known players in the WNBA. This viewpoint explains why Bird's endorsement of Clark is so significant. It is framed as a defense of the ideals that basketball is meant to uphold, rather than just a support for one outstanding player. According to him, Clark exemplifies the characteristics that set the sport apart: exceptional talent, short vision, competition, and a dedication to playing the game correctly. He apparently issued a warning at the same time about anything he thought may compromise those principles. Bird's message was clear: decisions made today could affect the league's future for years to come. The question that dominates the conversation is whether the WNBA will address concerns about protecting its biggest stars. Bird stated that the league has reached a crucial crossroads and must decide whether to prioritize protecting its premier talent and encouraging fair competition or risk allowing controversies to overshadow the game itself, or will discussions about player safety and physical play continue to dominate the news? It's your time now. What are your thoughts on Bird's alleged critique of Alyssa Thomas and the larger conversation regarding Caitlin Clark? Do you think the response has been exaggerated, or do you think his worries are warranted? Most significantly, should the WNBA take further precautions to safeguard its star players while preserving the physical aspect of the sport? Leave a comment below with your opinions. I read them all. Make sure to subscribe and enable notifications if you want in-depth basketball analysis that delves into the major narratives influencing the game so you never miss the next analysis.